I played one single ranked game since the Street Fighter 6 beta ended, and this is what happened. What a warm welcome back, huh? You know, win 5-6 neutral interactions, they get V-Trigger, I take 65%. Life lead in this game, in Street Fighter 5, is just a state of mind. It does not exist. And now that I've seen that the grass is so much greener on the other side, you know, Street Fighter 6 beta was phenomenal. I just can't bring myself to play Street Fighter 5 lately. Like, I don't know, I'm just not happy with the game now that I know what's coming. Even if you say, you know, it's a beta, right? The game could change completely by the next time you play it. Just the presentation alone was phenomenal. It's insane to me that Street Fighter 5 and 6 are going to be two games in the same series. Of course, they're 6 years apart, so I expected some innovation, but not to this level, especially in the netcode too, right? The Street Fighter 6 netcode was incredible. It was almost better than Strive, I want to say, because I saw people playing from Japan to the US and it was playable, and I was playing from EU to Texas. And so to load up Street Fighter 5 and have to play in that lag, it's like, man, I just want somebody to crack the beta. Like, I just want somebody to steal that beta and upload it so we can play it on Parsec or something. Like, I don't even know. It was just so good. It was one of the best betas I've ever played. Hey, I'm really trying to hit 10,000 subs. So if you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, there's gameplay issues, right? Drive Impact, I think, is one of them. It should cost maybe $1.50 bar, maybe 2 bars, but it is nothing compared to V-Trigger, man. And a lot of people who are complaining about the beta and stuff have never, like, they don't play Street Fighter 5 like I do. There's not a lot of people who play Street Fighter 5 still in general. But if you come back to this game, you come back to Street Fighter 5 after playing that beta, you'll say, what have you guys been doing for the past 6 years, 7 years? Like, why is Laura getting a steroid for losing? Why is Abigail getting a crazy damage V-Trigger for losing? You know, you get so heavily rewarded for losing in Street Fighter 5 compared to how it was in the 6 beta, where you lose, I don't know, what did you get? You got CA, you got Super Meter, but you still had to burn it. You are actively punished for losing in Street Fighter 6. It doesn't feel good when you're on the receiving end because you're losing, but it also feels really good when you're winning because the other person isn't going to pop this crazy comeback mechanic and try and random you out. And keep in mind, I've only been playing Street Fighter 5 for, I think, 3 years now. I guess we can call it 3 years now. And even I am so excited by what I saw in 6. I'm so excited to get off of this game. I cannot imagine people who have been playing from day one. 7 years playing this game, you go to that beta for a weekend, and it is everything you wished for and more. And then they tell you, all right, beat it. Get out of the hub. You got to go back to your Street Fighter 5 game. I couldn't imagine it. My heart would break in two. And it's not even just purely the gameplay that was better. Like I said, the entire package was better, which you would expect after 7 years of development. But you guys saw what happened with Street Fighter 4 to 5, right? It felt like a downgrade at first. And if you go on Fighting Game Twitter, every boomer under the sun is saying that Street Fighter 5 was the worst thing to ever happen to humanity. Like, it is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever read is Fighting Game Twitter after this beta. I mean, there's a subset of people calling themselves, we're OGs of the fighting game community because we played the game before you were born. But they weren't good at it, right? They're not good at it now. They weren't good at it then. They just played for a long time, and now they demand a level of respect that I think is ridiculous. The only OG fighting game players that I'd probably say that I respect are ones that continue to be good or were good at some point. But there are just so many random boomers showing up on my Twitter timeline demanding that we respect them because they touched a cabinet in the 90s. It makes no sense, right? They have no results. They have no basis for anything. They just feel like their opinion matters more than everybody else's. It's really funny. And I'm super excited for that game to come out and to have them all get humbled again and then not play the game because it's not Street Fighter 2. It seems to be a cycle. Anytime a new game is announced, guys, they're bringing footsies back. This is my game. This game is for the OGs, for the boomers. They're bringing it back, baby. And then they get on Granblue. I think that was the last game where I really saw people saying, this is anime Street Fighter, bro. This is what we wanted. And then they get on it and they don't, you know, it's the same people who always win. The same people who are younger, who didn't play in the 90s, who are winning, right? There's just so many resources out there that you don't have to have played Street Fighter for 30 years to be good at 6. There's so many resources for you to learn now. There's YouTube, there's forums, there's wikis, discords, all kinds of stuff. So don't let all that weird stuff that's gonna find itself on your timeline when 6 comes out deter you from learning the game or feeling like you can get good or get better than some of these people have been playing for a long time. All right, that's enough about Twitter. I want to talk a little bit about that drive gauge, because I think it's pretty far superior to most things that we've seen in the past with not even just Street Fighter V, but other games. I think at first it seems pretty difficult to manage your resources because, there's just so much stuff on the screen. You have like 50 drive bars, and you have your super bar and your health bar and everything like that. But once you start understanding how much things cost with the drive gauge, it makes it much easier to manage those resources because your super doesn't really depend on it. Your super is a completely different gauge. So if you use it, you're not like, oh, I'm going to be exhausted afterwards. The one thing I did have trouble with is EX moves because that is tied to the drive gauge. And playing Jury, if I lose track of the stores, I would just use an EX. And I don't remember how many bars an EX uses, but I would find myself exhausted after maybe 2 or 3 uses, depending on how much I blocked. That's the other thing that makes the drive gauge a little bit tricky at first, is when you're blocking, you lose it. So you kind of have to glance up and say, well, how much drive gauge did I lose from blocking that block string or blocking all that pressure? But like we talked about previously, a ton of the normals in that game are not plus. It's not like Street Fighter V where you have a bunch of plus normals and you can do all these different pressure strings. In that game, maybe every character maybe has one button that's plus. Jury's was stand medium punch and it was +2. But because it's +2, you can't really go into much. You can do stand medium punch, crouch medium punch, but there's a 4-frame gap, which some people will probably realize and start mashing in between. And then you've got to think about, maybe I do this button and then drive impact to catch their button or something like that. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be a lot of autopilot pressure where you're going to always be losing drive gauge. Because remember, if you autopilot your pressure, like I said, somebody's going to drive impact or parry or do something to interrupt it. There's a lot of options to interrupt it. One thing that kept happening to me was I would do stand medium punch meaty on Jury, and then I would try and go to crouch medium punch every time, because in Street Fighter V, that's like a pretty tight frame trap, and it's pretty easy to just autopilot into. But what people would do is they would just wake up with drive impact, and it has like 2-3 hits of armor. So I would immediately take one hit with stand medium punch and then go into the second one, and then the drive impact would come out and it would destroy me because I'm autopiloting that pressure every single time. It definitely makes you think about your presses a lot more because there's so many things to call it out. There's so many things to call out autopiloting. One other thing, if you didn't play the beta but you play a lot of zoner characters, I was talking to my friend Austin about this. If you play a lot of zoner characters that are fireball based, maybe you play like Sagat or something like that, you plan on playing Ken or Ryu in Street Fighter 6, I think you'll really enjoy it. The fireballs are super fast, they're super strong, because they kind of have to be in a game with a parry. That's what my friend Austin said, was because there's a parry in the game, you have to make the fireballs pretty good because they can just press 2 buttons and absorb them. And Guile's in the game as well, so if you're a zoner player, I would suggest playing him. He has some really ridiculous stuff. I saw a clip yesterday where somebody threw a sonic boom. I think it was Valmaster versus Akainu, and Valmaster neutral jumps the sonic boom, and Akainu drive rushes and does flash kick and catches his neutral jump falling behind the fireball. It's pretty ridiculous. It's very costly because I think drive rush costs 3 bars, 3 of the little drive bars. But if it's to close out a round or something, or I'm sure they'll optimize it to where there's a crazy combo you can do off of it, it's very scary. It's very scary when Guile throws a fireball and then dashes behind it immediately to anti-air E. I'm really hoping that when Cammy comes back, she'll have EX Spiral Arrow to go through the fireballs like she does in Street Fighter V, but who really knows? Because Jury doesn't have her flip kick. Her way to get over fireballs is like you can parry, you can jump, or you can dive kick. She has a dive kick. Or you can absorb them with the store, but that's a little bit difficult because of how fast the heavy ones are, how fast the heavy fireballs are. But yeah, I'll definitely get caught back up in Street Fighter V here soon and play it for the next few months. My guess is the game will come out, Street Fighter 6 will come out in February or March of next year, so that's what, 4 or 5 months of Street Fighter V left. I'll definitely fall back into it. I just need a little bit of time because that beta was really good. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll consider subscribing, and I'll talk to you again very soon.